Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we've got them here. Barry DeVine, Greg Young, the Limestone County Sports Hall of Fame.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Barry,
to be here.
Good morning. Barry's serious. He's so weird. He's got,
He's
got his hand on his forehead.
He's
writing little notes down, talking about everybody.
He's gathering that information.
He's gathering the info.
He's looking to see if Craig Kimbrell's been signed by the Braves.
The 411.
That's what me and him keeps hoping for, but
Okay.
it's going to happen.
You know, there's a kid here in Limestone County, Ryan Wheeler, and I can tell that because Jerry and Janet, his mother, told me this. Ryan played baseball at West Limestone, graduated 2008, and played on the American Legion team. And Craig Kimbrell was on the team with him.
Nice.
Yes.
That is cool.
That was cool. I'm like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Okay, sorry. Back to Barry and Greg here. So what you got for us, BD?
Well, it's that time of year, and we've elected our 2019 Sports Hall of Fame class. We've got a 10-member class this year. They'll be honored on June 8th here at the Event Center with a banquet. And it's an outstanding class. We're happy that those folks got in here, and I guess we're ready to announce that group.
Ooh, we ready. Go for it.
Okay. Well, the 10-member class includes Stacy Atkins, Jeff Harwell, Ben Holt, Philip Jennings, Shannon Davis Rutherford, Jesse Lockett, Jason Lucas, Larry Tribble, Henry Miller, and Greg Yarbrough.
Well, all
Greg Yarbrough. Is that the one from Tanner High School?
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah, all right.
That's him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, you got a microphone
Yeah,
there.
no, I was just sitting there talking to myself, really. But, yeah, that's me and Greg goes way back.
Congratulations, Greg.
Greg, remember I used to shoot your eyes out, buddy. No, I did go off on 11 for him one night, and we won, but that's beside the point. But, yeah, congratulations, Greg. And to the whole class. That's exciting.
It was a great class this year. You know, this was the first time I can remember that just about every one of these went in on the first ballot.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
and they were they had such strong credentials that it didn't take us very long this year to pick this class. It was a really, really, really strong class.
If you don't mind, Greg, before we start talking about, each individual, Barry, talking about, you said they went in on the first ballot. So explain a little bit about the voting process, if you don't mind.
Well, we have a board of directors that do the election, and
how
buddy
many-
Greg
how many-
Yarbrough right here.
and we've got a list of nominees. Nominees are we take nominations from the public. The board doesn't do the nominations. They have to be submitted by family, friends, coaches,
Right. And how many sit on
people
the
of the
board?
community. Pardon me?
How many sit on the board?
We have 16 on the board.
Okay.
So it's a big group, and it's well represented. We got if you come to the banquet, you'll see them all. But we've got I think we've got 3 former judges. Jimmy Woodruff, Mike Davis, George Craig are all on the board. We got Randy White, Barry Hamilton, Jeff Hodges. Got Helen Greenhall joined the board this year, which
great.
boy, you talk about an asset to have on the board.
Yeah, Miss Greenhall.
Miss Helen
her.
Greenhall, we were just so honored that she came on the board.
That's awesome.
And we have Nancy McBay.
Yeah.
Martha Joe's daughter is on there, and we're glad to have her on there. Who am I missing? Barry, Greg,
Mr. Lucas.
Mr. James Lucas. Who am I?
John Witt.
John Witt's on there. Good representation from Ardmore and Elkmont with him. So we try to get people on the board that represent different areas. Obviously I'm an Athens guy, but my dad coached at East Limestone. So I have some connections to the county, know a lot of the people in the county. Kenneth Luter's on the board with us. He's a great representative. John Wayne King. And we take this list of nominees, and we have a good list of nominees. I don't know exactly how many are on the list, but we do some, the month before we do some discussion. We make some recommendations on who we like. Each person has a chance to give their input, and then we come back for the voting. And like I said, it's this year was really different in that generally we'll have 2 or 3 ballots to get to those 8 or 10 people, ever how many we choose we're going to have. This year, it didn't take very long. We put these guys directly in. They had such strong credentials. But like you mentioned, the nomination list stays intact. In other words, if you make a nomination, it'll stay on. That person will stay on the list. And sometimes, they're not sometimes, we got very, very deserving people that will be in the Hall of Fame that have been on the list for a while. It just sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes, we want to get some certain people in before.
Well, right. There's always not special circumstances, but I mean,
exactly.
Certain people.
Exactly.
Special. I don't know what I'm trying to say without trying to make it.
But it might take you 4 or 5 times.
Right. It might take 4 or 5 times, like any Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So we encourage people to make those nominations. There are a lot of people out there that hadn't been nominated. We get those questions a lot about, hey, why isn't so-and-so in the Hall of Fame? Well, he hadn't been nominated.
Well, nominate that young man.
We need to get,
or young lady.
Get him nominated. It doesn't take a lot. We've got a form. It's on our website. You can go out there and you fill out the form. You submit a picture, the credentials, as much as you can.
Yeah.
And the more the better,
Yeah.
so we can have good information. But boy, there's just a lot of people out there. But this class was really good, and we're really proud of them.
Okay, one question. We know how you do in the major leagues, pro football major leagues. Usually, you got to be out of either coaching or playing for 5 years. Is that the same way with Limestone County Hall of Fame? Do you have to be out a certain amount?
I think the rule actually reads that you got to be out of playing for 5 years. You got to be at least 35, if I'm not mistaken.
At least 35, yeah.
And you got to be out of playing for 5 years. Coaches, there's not a limit. I don't think they can go in right after they retire.
Oh, right after they retire.
So it's the players. If you go in as a player, you have to be out of the there for 5 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, Barry.
I don't think there is a limitation on the. I think you have to be retired.
Okay. I thought there was a 5 year. I'll have to go back and look at that.
It may be.
Okay.
That those are what it takes to qualify for that.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about this year's class individually. Since you brought up Greg Yarborough, let's start with Greg. Greg has, a lot of folks know, was an All-State.
There you go.
Was an All-State basketball player at Tanner High School. Played under Coach Henry White and Coach Billy Owens. Greg was an All-Area, All-State. He helped lead Tanner to state championship in basketball his senior year. Was an excellent player, left-handed guy, could shoot the ball really well.
Oh yeah.
Went on and played at Sneed State and had a nice 2-year run there. Greg was a really, really good basketball player, and certainly we're glad he's getting inducted this year. Next guy I want to talk about is an ex-Trinity High School athlete, Stacy Atkins. Stacy played in the Negro American Leagues. He was a pitcher and was outstanding. And I've heard stories. I've lived in Limestone County for almost 35 years, and I've heard stories of folks that are older than me talk about even when Stacy retired from baseball, he'd be playing over here at the old fairgrounds, and they'd have pickup baseball games, and he still could throw it, and was really an outstanding pitcher. And after he retired from professional baseball, he came back and he worked with the athletic program at Old Trinity High School, and was I think he did a little bit of everything, and he was the voice of their program over there, and certainly another great addition to this year's class.
I love baseball history. If you've watched the Ken Burns baseball series, he talks a lot about the Negro Leagues and how good those players were. The Satchel Pages and the Josh Gibsons and those guys could have competed, no question, with all the best players in the majors. And Stacy was one of those guys that played against all those guys. You know, the barnstorming teams that came around. He played against the Satchel Pages and Roy Campanellas. And I mean, he held his own with them. I mean, they said he was an unbelievable pitcher. He played semi-pro with the Chicago American Giants in the Negro Leagues, and just, you know, the people that knew him or knew of him and everything couldn't speak more highly of him. He's a great athlete and a great addition. We're, you know, like I said, we like to have diverse athletes, diverse people in the Sports Hall of Fame, and boy, I tell you, he filled the bill there for somebody out of that group.
Yeah,
no question.
Who else we got,
Greg? You want?
Well, we'll skip down to one that I know pretty well, Philip Jennings. If y'all don't know Philip played on the 1972 team, the undefeated Athens High School football team. Was part of that great team that went undefeated, got beat by Coleman in the playoffs, but Philip was a big part of that. The other part of Philip, though, if his credentials, great in football, but he was an excellent discus and shot putter and track team.
Really?
Absolutely. He won state championships in both indoor and outdoor. I think in like 72 they said he won third place as a junior in both discus and shot put, and he came back in 73 and won the state championship in I think in shot put, came in third in the discus. So, but he helped lead those teams to track state championships back in those times. That's what a lot of people don't forget. It's like Bill Ming. You know, Bill Ming was a great football player, but Bill Ming did the same thing. He was an excellent state championship shot putter. So, you know, those sports are very important to us as well when we're looking at their credentials.
And I don't hear that talked much anymore about, you know, in the track. You hear a lot of the runners now, but you don't hear about the discus throw and the shot put. I don't hear it personally mentioned as much as just normally just regular track and field now.
You know, back in those days, Phillips track team was over at the old middle school on the old concrete track.
Yeah,
you know,
with that banking.
With the banking, it was a 220 track. You know, so you ran a mile. It was 8 laps. You know, I knew that pretty well. But that's where they held the track meets, and I can remember back in those days that the fences were just lined with people. There were no stands, but people all came out to watch those track meets. So because we had such good track teams back in those days, and Philip was part of that. And of course, then he goes on and plays 4 years at Auburn. Philip did, and lettered down there, and went on to have a very successful coaching career down in Florida. He was at Mosley High School from 77 to 81, and then he went on Vero Beach high schools, and he was there from 81 to 98, and he had a 13-year record in coaching of 88 and 11. So
it's not too bad.
Very good high school coach as well, you know. And that's, you know, we induct people based on their either being a player or a coach. But, you know, when a athlete comes in and he's got both, that means something to us too, you know. So, but Philip, we'll look forward to having him. He's got family here. He'll bring a lot of people, a lot of his old teammates and everything.
Awesome.
But,
that's great.
Great guy.
All right, who else?
Who else? Go to the next one, Barry.
All right, I'll talk a little about Shannon Davis Rutherford. I'm somewhat familiar with Shannon. Shannon was a great softball player at Athens High School under Coach Randy White, and at Calhoun Community College under Coach Meyer King. Two coaches that are in our Hall of Fame. What I remember about Shannon was that around when Shannon played at Calhoun, we had just started our fast pitch softball program at Athens State, and I was the assistant coach under Larry Keenum, and obviously we did a lot of recruiting from Calhoun, and Shannon was part of some of the teams that we at Calhoun that we first recruited from. And what I remember about Shannon was defensively as good a shortstop as you'd ever want to see. I mean, she represented everything you'd want in a shortstop. She had great range and unbelievable arm. and she played. She had a little combination there at second base with Kathy Coggins, who.
Oh yeah, I remember Kathy.
Kathy's in our Hall of Fame, and later on was an All-American type player at Athens State. But she, those two made a great combination in high school and in at Calhoun. But Shannon, she went in a different direction after junior college. Shannon was part, and I don't know if you guys or our audience remember, there was a professional women's football league started back in the late 90s. Do y'all recall that?
I think they played at Bob Jones.
Yeah. Well,
okay. I remember a little bit about it.
I remember a little bit about that.
Right. Well, she actually played in that league.
Wow.
She played quarterback. It goes back to that strong arm.
Strong arm, yet shortstop.
For the Minnesota Vixens of the Women's Professional Football League.
Vixens.
Yeah, and
I love it.
She appeared in 4 national sports magazines, 2 major newspapers.
Wow.
And also had an appearance on the Good Morning America show.
Wow.
And To Tell the Truth show.
Sweet.
But we're certainly glad that Shannon got in this year. She's certainly deserving, and like I said, my recollection of Shannon was that she was just some kind of softball player, and obviously she went on and did some great things after that, and certainly worthy of this year's selection.
That's awesome. All right, who we got next?
Greg?
Let me go next.
Yeah.
Jason Lucas was put in. Jason played football at Athens High School. He started on offense and defense. Great stats at Athens High School. He was, I think, overall he had over 1,000 yards as a junior and a senior. He was recognized in Prep Spotlight, and he was selected for the Alabama State All-Star team. He had 23 TDs at Athens High School, 5 interceptions, recorded 50 tackles. Just a really, really good player. He was listed in Pegasus's 91, 92 edition of Who's Who in Sports, and he was all area. Best defensive back, best offensive back, MVP, and captain of Athens High School. Went on and played at Alabama State University from 92 to 96. He played wide receiver. He was a kickoff and punt returner, and he received the Department of Intercollegiate Athletic Alabama State Athletic Award. So he had some great and not only that, people that coached him said he was one of the greatest kids that ever came through Athens High School. Just a class guy. And so we were happy to get Jason in there this year.
That's good. All right. Who else we got?
Talk a little bit about Ben Holt. Ben was the multi-sport star at Ardmore High School back in the late 80s. Look at his credentials in high school. He hit over 350. He was 5-1 as a pitcher his senior year with 1 no-hitter. All-county in baseball. Excellent basketball player. Football player. I think he won the Eugenia Cooper Award. Are you familiar with that, Zach? Eugene Cooper Award. Do they still?
I don't think. I can't remember. I don't think they do that anymore.
Okay, but when Ben played, certainly that was a great honor because everyone in Limestone County knows what a great coach Coach Cooper was. Certainly, Coach Cooper was actually when we started this thing in 2003, was part of our first class. So. He was a legend, so that certainly takes on quite an honor to be bestowed. But he later on, Ben went on and played baseball at Martin Methodist College. I believe they were a junior college team at that time. Started every game for 2 years up there. I think he hit 311 his sophomore year. Later went on to Tennessee Tech. A Division I school,
Tennessee.
Yes, they were in the that's OVC, Ohio Valley Conference. Played up there. Started 2 years. Had a nice 2-year run up there for Tennessee Tech, and here again, Ben was certainly was an outstanding athlete, but he also excelled in the classroom. He was the Bryant Jordan Region 8 Scholar Athlete when he was at Ardmore High School. Then when he was at Tennessee Tech, he was an academic All-American. Get this, guys, 3.68 in engineering.
I wouldn't hire him.
Tennessee Tech.
He don't know nothing.
Hit the books a little bit. Yeah.
Academic All-Region. He was certainly a outstanding. You know, when you talk about the term student athlete,
Yes.
that Ben personifies that, and certainly with his credentials in the on the field and on the court, on the gridiron, certainly worthy of this year's being inducted in this year's class, and we're happy Ben's getting in this year.
All right. Well, I'll talk about Jeff Harwell. Jeff Harwell was a distance runner at Athens Bible School. You may know him, Tim. When you read when you go down the list of what he did in track and field, is unbelievable. I mean, he started out in the 8th grade running distance for Athens Bible School. He placed like 14th in the state as an 8th grader. Wow. And then he went on in the 9th grade. He started moving up. In 10th grade, he won the 800 meters, third in the 1600 meter at the state meet. And he won an individual title as a junior in the 800 meters, the 1600 meters, and the 3200 meters, all in record times, and repeated the same thing as a senior. And as a senior, he was ranked number 1 in the state for all classifications by Inside Track magazine.
Wow.
I mean, his credentials are unbelievable. In the summer before his senior year, he competed in the AAU Junior Olympics in Jacksonville, Florida. He went on to win in those meets, like at Auburn. He won the 1,600-meter run. In the state indoor meet, he won as a junior the mile, and as a senior, he won the mile and the 2-mile. After that, he went on to Troy University and ran on the track team for conference championships in track and field at Troy. One team qualified for the NCAA meet. He was named twice to the all-conference team in cross country, and runner-up in the conference championship in the 1,500-meter run. And I tell you what, you got to talk about credentials. That, as a runner, and again, we try to get diverse athletes in our. And he may be one of the best track athletes that this county has ever seen.
Wow, I mean, going all the way back to 8th grader, that is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, who's next?
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about Jesse Lockett, another multi-sport star. Played at East Limestone. I know it played for Coach Drake, and another Sports Hall of Fame member. In basketball at East. Also played football. He participated in track. I think he ran in their state track meet with East. In football, he played quarterback. He was all county. His senior year, get this is a pretty impressive stat. Every time he touched the football, he averaged 12.6 yards.
That's a first down every time.
That's the first time. Yeah, first time.
I'll be like, if I'm Coach Caracappa, I'm like, you're touching it every time.
But he was I think he was a team MVP. Was an excellent basketball player. He averaged his junior year, he averaged 15.3 points, and he upped it to 18 points his senior year. Scored over 1,200 points during his career at East Limestone. In football, his senior year, he completed 23 of 43 passes for 571 yards.
Wow.
Rushed 77 times for 541 yards. But people I talked to that remember Jesse at East was that he was just an outstanding all-around athlete. And, again, another one that we're glad to be inducted in this year's class.
Tell you about Jesse. So he was older than me. But back then, East was a lot smaller school than what it is now. Kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, you kind of knew one another. And anyway, Jesse and I was good friends with his brother Travis, but he was kind of he just kind of big brothered me. He would take me under his wing from time to time and stuff, and I just always appreciated him, looked up to him. Right, he was one of those when you're a little bit younger and he's doing all these phenomenal things on the court and on the football field. It's like, man, dude's my hero, So I just wanted to say that he was also just a really good guy. Still is wonderful guy.
Good deal. All righty.
All right, move on. This is one I'm really happy about. It's Henry Miller, better known as Hen Miller.
Yep.
Now, if you're as old as I am, you remember back in the 60s and the 70s, these great softball teams that were playing around, like out at the fairgrounds and stuff like that. Hen Miller, there were two pitchers that everybody feared. One of them was
Jim Johnson.
Jim Johnson. That is in the Hall of Fame. And the other one was Hen Miller. Hen Miller could throw a softball like nobody's business. I mean, I have an uncle that played softball down in Haleville, Alabama, and he would always ask about Hen Miller. Yeah, that's how his reputation was, and he was an outstanding softball pitcher. He pitched. In '64, he pitched for the city softball champions, and he struck out in 19 in 7 innings in one game. He pitched in the semifinals and beat Nomada 3-2, and he was the winning pitcher and scored the winning run. In '64, he beat a Pensacola team in the regional tournament and was named most valuable player. And get this, in '67, there was a headline in the Alabama Courier that says he does it again. He pitched 4 consecutive perfect games, 4 no-hitters, perfect games, won those, and he pitched for State Farm. All of those softball teams back then were named by the sponsors, and that's so he had not lost a game in the league for several years, and he took the win in 1969 for State Farm and in '70, and I think his record on that season was 123-1.
Oh wow!
But from the time I was little, everybody knew about Hen Miller. So I hope the younger people understand what a great athlete
That was those windmill. That was those windmill fast pitch, buddy, coming in 70 foot at 90 miles an hour or more.
Exactly.
I never saw him pitch, but I was friends with his son Henry before he passed away, But wow, that's some pretty impressive stats.
You brought up something that's pretty good. I love to see these kind of guys get inducted because, the younger people do get to learn about them. Right. Those that weren't around and maybe their parents didn't know or they just moved here.
Right.
This county's been blessed with a whole lot of really good athletes and coaches and sports people.
That's right.
It just continues to grow.
That's
great.
That's right.
I'd forgotten. I'd always heard that name, and I'd forgotten it until you just brought it up.
He's one of those that he had been on our list for a good while, and it was past time for him to be inducted. Yeah. But we were certainly glad to get him in this year.
Yeah. That's right. Let me, while we're talking about that, something I want to expand on what Greg talked about earlier. As you look at this group that we're inducting in here, how diverse it is. Okay, we take that very seriously. We do not sit down and just say, okay, did they play a major sport? Okay, or where do they play? We look at a lot of things when we go in and select a class. We want it as diverse as possible. And again, we're sitting around here kind of brainstorming about the old days. This is going to bring back good memories for folks. Yeah.
Yes, it will.
When you talk about about Miller, okay, about Stacey Atkins, folks that from bygone eras. You know what I mean? And it's again, these are just some really good examples of when we sit down and we look at inducting a class. We do not focus in on just a particular sport or two. Okay, so it is a good class. It's a very diverse class, and it represents a broad range of athletic achievements.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're very proud of that.
It's great.
So that leaves the one name that we have not discussed yet.
Would that be Larry Tribble?
Yeah,
that would
be Mr. Coach Tribble.
Okay. Larry, I think he coached. I think he started his coaching career at Ardmore High School. He was assistant coach with the varsity boys and girls, and head coach of junior boys and girls basketball. And then he was the head softball coach at Ardmore. I think the team went to the state tournament a couple years while he was there. He later went on, moved over to West Limestone, and while he was at West, coaching the varsity girls basketball team, they won 249 games.
Wow!
During an 11-year period, his teams finished first or second in the county area in 10 of the 11 years he coached there.
Mm-hmm.
He also was the head junior girls coach, winning 101 games in 7 seasons. He was runner-up in county tournament 5 of the 7 years he coached. He also helped with junior high football, 2 years varsity softball, 78 wins, 1 county championship. You know, he goes on and on and on. His accomplishments at West Limestone. He won 2 county tournaments. I think he coached golf. I mean, he coached a lot of things at West.
Very diverse.
Yes, and then he later went on to Pascagoula, Mississippi, where he won. Where he coached varsity girls down there, girls track again. I mean, he kind of coached a lot of sports, and certainly proud that Coach Tribble finally got his long overdue recognition, and glad he's getting inducted in this year's class.
And on top of that, when Coach Taylor and the West Limestone boys won the state championship, not just past year, but
he was
past time. He was the assistant on there.
Coach Taylor.
Assistant Coach Taylor.
Yes.
And coach my son Tyler when he played.
I've forgotten about
when he played over there at West. So,
He up until last year, and I know Coach Chastity led there at West Limestone. She talks about Coach Tribble.
Yeah,
He's
she
still
played for him.
a big part of the school and the community there.
Yeah.
And they all love Coach Tribble. So
that is great.
That's a good 10-man class, y'all.
Yeah, congratulations to each and every one of them, and for all the memories and all the great sports that you've given us through the years. You know, like you said, Barry, it's kind of cool to sit back and think of some of the players in the past, and you know we got a great crop of young athletes and coaches coming up too that'll be inducted. So y'all's well's not going to run dry anytime soon.
Not going to run dry.
Yeah.
So
I kind of peeked at Barry's list, and there was quite a few nominations for 2019. So now people need to start nominating people now. Where can they go to nominate?
They can go to our website. What's the address?
LCHSHOF.
Limestone County Sports Hall of Fame. Just Google that.
Just Google that. It'll pop up.
Our website will come up, and there is a application form on there. Before we forget, I want to mention one thing. Obviously, our goal is to get the best athletes inducted, but our number one goal is scholarships.
Yeah,
we're giving out. Three scholarships this year. We've increased that from 1 to 2, and now from 2 to 3.
That's great.
They are scholarships to deserving high school students from the county, and that's the big thing that we do. 2 things. We do the banquet. We don't make any money on the banquet, but we do a golf tournament. We'll have that golf tournament at Canebrake again this year. We had it at Canebrake last year. It was very successful. From that money and doing as well as we did last year, we were able to increase to 3 scholarships, and that's really what we're there for.
Yeah.
We're there to give out those scholarships, and
that's on Thursday, June the 6th, correct?
Exactly.
And you can sign up for the sign your foursome up at lcshof.com or no?
No, call me.
Okay, call Barry DeVine for
It's 777-3810. And while we're talking a little bit about the golf tournament, it is a 4-man scramble format. It's going to be $125 per person. Be a 1 o'clock tee time. But the main thing is our golf tournament, like Greg says, is our primary fundraiser to help fund these scholarship for the student athletes. But last year we renamed this golf tournament. It is now called the Martha Joe Leonard Memorial.
That's awesome.
Tournament.
That's great.
And it's after Miss Leonard, who was an integral part of our board, who is sorely missed in so many ways.
I'm sure.
And certainly with our board and other boards, numerous boards she served on in this county. And we renamed it in her honor. And, last year we had a great turnout, and we're looking for another one this year. And hopefully folks will come out and support it. And 2 days later, we'll be back here in the event center on the 8th, 6 o'clock, honoring this 10-person class.
And what's the ticket costs for the banquet?
It's $25, isn't it? $25?
I think it's $25.
$25. You can get it. They haven't gone on sale yet, but they will soon at the United Way here in Athens.
United Way in Athens.
And for parents and athletes interested in that scholarship, can they also go to the website to apply?
They need to talk to their school counselor.
Okay,
All of the counselors in all the schools have been given packages to fill out and apply for those. And by the way, those scholarships are also named for some of our former board members too. One is the Jimmy Gill Memorial Scholarship, and one of them is the Jackie Greenhall Memorial Scholarship. So we're proud that their names have been added to those scholarships.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank y'all for all y'all do, man. And
exactly.
I mean, that's a lot of work, and it's volunteer work, and I know y'all enjoy it, but at the same time, I can't imagine what it's like sitting in the room for all these men and women having to go through such great resumes to decide who gets in. Yeah,
it's tough.
There's still a lot more that's got to come.
There's a lot more, and do you have any idea how? I got two questions actually. Like, obviously those that have gotten nominated and aren't in, earlier y'all mentioned, their name stays in the mix.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea? I use the word backlog, but how many nominations do y'all currently have already?
I can't tell you. It's
right there.
5 pages.
Several pages.
10 pages.
Well, but that's great. That's a great pool to choose from. And
but I'll say this too: if you've got somebody on that has been nominated, and you want to add to that, send us a letter. Send us a letter and say, hey, I'd like to put in an endorsement for such and such, and here's why. Because they may have some data that we don't have.
I was just going to say, or somebody that did the original nomination may have forgotten, like, oh, I forgot they did this or that. And,
exactly.
And also along those lines, so there's different, not criteria, but different categories, right?
Different categories. We have 3 basic categories: players, our athletes, and coaches. And we have a category for deceased, for those that have died. But
support.
And support.
Okay,
I'm sorry, there are 4. I forgot about the support. We do have several, that have been inducted based on their support.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we don't have any sort of. We don't have certain number has to be in each of those things. I mean,
you just go by the best candidate.
Exactly.
Nominate for that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard to sort them out. There's some good ones.
I can't imagine.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great segment, guys. Thanks again for coming here and doing this.
We'll have them back in May, and maybe you can get some of these inductees on.
That'd be awesome.
We'll be able to get some of them with us.
It's time to take a quick break. You're listening to Applebee's Tailgate Talk on WKAC, the Big 1080.